Amari Cooper gets traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a first-round pick. Le'Veon Bell may not be back with the Steelers until after the NFL trade deadline, which is October 30th. And somehow, I'm 5-2 in the Instagram Experts League. What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. These are my Week 8 waiver wire pickups. This video is sponsored by Pro Football Focus. They watch every play of every player. Their grades are awesome. I personally love the wide receiver cornerback matchup chart. I love looking at their weekly matchups. And now they have PFF Fantasy, which is a trustworthy source. I would not promote these guys if I didn't trust them, if they weren't so well respected. Make sure to get PFF Edge today. Get full access for PFF's player projections, fantasy draft resources, matchup charts, and of course, their award-winning fantasy content. Use promo code MVP20 to save 20% on your subscription. And if you're into high stakes and NFL lines like I am, you can also get PFF Elite. That's what I got. So make sure you guys sign up at profootballfocus.com and use promo code MVP20 to save 20%. Join PFF Fantasy today and prepare to win. Also, guys, it'll really help support this channel. Thank you so much. 4 teams are on bye this week. Those are the Falcons, Cowboys, Chargers, and Titans. Quarterbacks to add. Yes, I know Andy Dalton is likely owned in your league. He's owned in 75% of leagues. But he will be dropped just a little bit. We know how it is, recency biased. Owners just look at last week. Owners get emotional. They get mad. Yeah, he was quite the letdown against the Chiefs. We all thought it would be a shootout or the Bengals would at least compete and Dalton would do something. For example, Tyler Boyd was a huge disappointment. Mixon did not do well either. The entire Bengals team did poorly. But this week he's going against the Bucs. Really good matchup. Mitchell Trubisky, I don't have his matchup this week because he's more of a long-term ad. Mitchell Trubisky, first 3 weeks looked like garbage. His last 3 weeks, he looked really good, man. And he's only played 6 games because they already had their bye week, the Bears. So he's only owned in about half of leagues. Pretty much a must-add if you're looking to have 2 quarterbacks on your team. A lot of people are making fun of Amari Cooper, and yeah, he's been very inconsistent and pretty disappointing. It just hasn't worked out in real life and in fantasy. But regardless, whatever you say, we don't care as fantasy owners that the Cowboys may have overpaid quite a bit for Amari Cooper. If that's your opinion at all, I'm not even going to state my opinion on that because frankly it doesn't affect me and it doesn't affect fantasy how much they paid for Amari Cooper. We're looking at the fantasy relevance, the fantasy impact that this trade has. It makes the Cowboys offense, the Cowboys entire team, way better because even if Cooper is inconsistent and dropping passes, it's going to dictate the coverage. They have to worry about Amari Cooper. They got Allen Hurns in the offseason and he has not panned out. So at the very least, we can say that Amari Cooper is significantly better than Allen Hurns. Or at least the defense will definitely believe that Cooper deserves a better coverage and more attention than a guy like Allen Hurns does. This is going to improve Dak Prescott. It's going to take a little bit of pressure off Ezekiel Elliott, get a little bit more attention off of him because we know the way to stop the Cowboys is if you just contain Ezekiel Elliott, you should be able to win that game. Now, not so much the case. Now they have to actually worry about Amari Cooper. And then you have Dak Prescott, who's an excellent running quarterback. So that changes the entire dynamic of that. I had to put him on this list. Just keep in mind that Dak Prescott is on bye. If you're looking for a QB2, I consider Dak Prescott a very high-end QB2 as of now. Then we have Baker Mayfield. I still believe in this guy, but I don't stop making up excuses for him. He does not have the weapons he needs to be a QB1, but even with that being said, he needed to play better. So we do see that he's obviously still a rookie, probably the best rookie quarterback so far this year. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, I mean, he's more of a QB2 and not that QB1 potential that I thought he had. Then we have Case Keenum going against the Chiefs. We're in deep league territory here, dual quarterback territory here. Keep in mind that it may be a windy game. If we do see winds of 50 miles an hour or greater, which is very likely in Kansas City, then we have to downgrade Keenum just a little bit. And if it's really windy, like 20, 22 miles per hour or greater, then we have to downgrade him even more. Then we have Alex Smith going against the Giants. Washington should win that game. Probably not a high-scoring game. And Flacco going against the Panthers. I'm not going to have Chubb and Duke Johnson on this list. That was so last week. And if you're in a competitive league or you know anything about fantasy, you already know to pick up Nick Chubb. I posted it everywhere on all my social medias, everywhere to go add Nick Chubb as soon as Hyde was traded. Yeah, people are still picking him up this week, but it is obvious. I guess I'm telling you guys, and it's just not written on this list. So definitely add Nick Chubb in your league. He's a must-add. He's a high-end RB1, borderline low-end RB1. And Duke Johnson does have some significant value in PPR leagues. Similar to that case, though, we have Doug Martin and Jalen Richard. This is one of the most popular questions I have. Who to add, Jalen Richard or Doug Martin? In a PPR league, it's very close. It's extremely close in a PPR league, but still giving the edge to Doug Martin. Now, if it's half PPR, non-PPR, I'm giving a huge edge. It's definitely Doug Martin. So it's Doug Martin in all formats, but Jalen Richard in deep leagues and especially in PPR leagues is extremely valuable as well because they're going to need to throw the ball and they will check down to Jalen Richard. It's going to be quite the mess for the Oakland Raiders the remainder of the year, and it already pretty much has. But Doug Martin, he's going to be the starter. He's going to get all the carries, and he can catch the ball too. But, once they're hurrying up, playing catch up, and they're far behind in the fourth quarter, that's more of a Jalen Richard type game script. Raheem Mostert, man, this guy is really good because Breda is injured. He's been banged. I think he has like 3 injuries this year. And Alfred Morris has been a disappointment. He's not really worked out for the Niners. So Mostert could really be the starter or at least get the most fantasy points out of all 49ers running backs, at least for the next few games. But definitely keep tabs on Breda's health. Ronald Jones, same story again. Peyton Barber does have an injury. I don't think it's significant, but it's quite the mystery injury. I don't know what it is as of right now. So keep tabs on Peyton Barber's injury. Still, Ronald Jones is worth an add, especially in deeper leagues. And we have Frank Gore. We know that Drake is going to be more of the 6th man role and not really be the workhorse that a lot of fantasy owners thought he would when they drafted him in the 3rd round, maybe even the 4th round sometimes in a 10-team draft. Frank Gore is going to be the guy who gets 11 carries a game, right? He'll be solid. He could be used in the goal line in several situations. He'll be that solid guy, decent floor, not a great ceiling. So he's not amazing, but he'll be more like a RB4 on your team. Then we have Kenyon Barber, Sony Michel. I don't know how long he'll be out with that knee injury. Maybe he misses 2 games. I don't know. Unlikely that Sony Michel does play this week, which would be an excellent game script for him. I do see Barner getting quite a bit of work if Sony Michel is out, especially this game against the Bills. Then we have Capri Bibbs, more of a PPR guy. I don't think he's worth an add unless you're super desperate in standard leagues. But in PPR, he does replace that Chris Thompson role. So keep tabs on Chris Thompson. Maybe he's coming back this week. Maybe he's not. Chris Ivory, Marcus Murphy. Wow, we're getting into some depressing names here, guys. So LaShawn McCoy is hurt. Maybe you want to look at one of those guys. I think Chris Ivory suffered an injury, but it shouldn't be anything significant. He came right back in the game. He should be good to go. Then if you want to play a little bit of running back roulette, we have Mike Davis and Rashad Penny of the Seahawks. And Darren Sproles might be worth an add, a stash, if you are in a league that has IR spots. You can pick him up off free agency for free. Definitely wouldn't waste a waiver claim on him unless you're in a 20-team league. Wide receivers. I put Amari Cooper here because a couple million fantasy owners did drop him. Look, he's still owned in over 80% of leagues. But when over 1 million fantasy owners drop a player and there's a trade, I still want to add him on this list. And I actually got multiple questions about should I add Amari Cooper because people have dropped him the past 2 weeks. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, it can't get any worse. Look, Dak Prescott, he's not a great passer, but it's not going to get any worse than he was. Maybe it works out for them. Maybe they play him differently and maybe he starts doing better. I definitely don't see Amari Cooper's numbers being worse than it was the first few weeks when he was on the Raiders this year. He's definitely worth an add. More of a wide receiver 3 or flex play on your team, though, to be honest. Now, Jordy Nelson automatically gets boosted into that wide receiver 1 role on the Raiders, and Carr's going to have to throw the ball a lot. Geronimo Allison, Randall Cobb, and whoever's starting on the Packers is worth an add. You got Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, so whoever is catching it, go ahead and add him. But keep tabs. Lots of injuries over there. Geronimo Allison and Randall Cobb did miss week 6, and they just had a bye week 7. Kelvin Benjamin going against the Patriots. Probably should have ranked. Let's rank Kelvin Benjamin down 1. Yeah, let's put Chris Godwin ahead of Kelvin Benjamin, and then Kelvin Benjamin number 5. Let's do that. Then we have Devontae Parker, who actually has to play now because the Dolphins are so banged up at the receiver position. Martavius Bryant becomes somewhat fantasy relevant. DJ Moore's back on this list. Danny Amendola, he's probably the favorite target of Brock Osweiler, and with Albert Wilson out, man, this guy's going to be very valuable this week, and he's a good spot start. Then we have Seth Roberts of the Raiders and Chester Rogers of the Colts. Keep tabs on Ryan Grant's injury. Jermaine Kearse, who a lot of people thought would, including me, thought he'd get a lot of targets against the Vikings, and a good matchup as far as if he were to play in the slot. And it just didn't work out. He got 2 targets, 0 receptions, 0 fantasy points. Maybe he does better. Jets are just Sam Darnold, not really that good. And look, a lot of people are thinking Terrell Williams is better than Mike Williams. Phillip Rivers is spreading the ball around. He's spreading the love, and I don't see a big difference between these two guys. They're on bye, so if you can't get Terrell Williams, go get Mike Williams. If you can't get Mike Williams, go get Terrell Williams. There's not a big difference. Just because Terrell Williams has been doing better the last 2 weeks, and Mike Williams was doing better earlier on in the season, the roles could be reversed the very next week. Rivers just doesn't force feed the ball to a certain player. He just throws to the open man, and Terrell Williams has been wide open on a few plays the last couple weeks for the Chargers. Keep in mind, both teams are on bye. Then we have Dante Moncrief, if you want to, I don't know why you want to add that guy, but I have him here. And, if he's playing from the slot, I guess that's okay against the Eagles. Then we have Josh Reynolds if Cooper Kupp is out. Moving on to tight ends. Vance McDonald was dropped in a few leagues, and that's just crazy, man. I know if you're in a league with 5 bench spots, you probably couldn't afford to keep 2 tight ends last week. But come on, man, he is that good, and I would try to keep him on your roster, at least as a tight end too. I see him as a very valuable fantasy player. CJ Uzomah should have a good game against the Bucks. He's borderline tight end 1 territory, and he was the only player who did okay against the Chiefs. If you really look at his expectations, he's definitely been the Bengals tight end to own as opposed to Tyler Kroft. Jack Doyle, I have no clue what's up with his hip injury, but he's worth an add in case he comes back anytime soon. He will be a tight end 1. Jeff Hireman, I have him again if Eric Berry is out. Excellent spot start, sneaky start this week. Then we have Charles Clay going against the Patriots. Chris Herndon, the Jets, sneaky tight end right there. I do like this guy. Michael Roberts of the Lions and Dallas Goedert of the Eagles. Defenses to add. Number 1 defense this week is the Patriots. And I think number 1 ranked defense this week out of any defense, if you just had to pick one, if you could choose out of any, could be the Patriots. They're going against the Bills. Josh Allen, I don't think he's going to play. So we're looking at either Nathan Peterman or Derek Anderson. Both should be tasty meal for the Patriots defense. Wow, and what I did was I added the Patriots D in a couple leagues last week. And I had the extra room. I used the IR glitch or the IR spot and add an extra spot. So I was like, hey, let me pick up the Patriots in anticipation for week 8. And they are looking like they could be the best defense. Colts D, if you added them last week, they did very good against the Bills. And this week, again, they're going against the Raiders. Could be a top 5 defense. I still don't trust them. I thought they had upside this week. I didn't trust them last week. I did play them in a couple leagues, and they did very well. But I still don't trust them, especially this week. A similar situation. They have a ton of upside. Lynch is out. Amari Cooper is not there. Raiders are a mess. The Colts should get this W. So I don't know what the Raiders offense is going to look like, but it could be something that's not looking too good. Colts D, top 10 ranked defense this week. Then we have Washington playing against the Giants. Should be a low scoring game. Washington should get the dub. Cardinals, who to own? Cardinals D or Niners D? I really don't know. I'm going to give the edge to the Cardinals defense here. I just feel like the Cardinals D has been playing better than the Niners D. Even when the Niners have some good players in there, they're not in the right position, they're not tackling, or whatever is going on, they're just not playing well as a team in general, and the defense isn't playing well in general. I think the Cardinals D has a little bit better potential to score points. And yeah, the Niners D hasn't really done anything other than, not stopping the defense. They haven't really caused any turnovers, not a ton of sacks. So just haven't racked up a lot of fantasy points. Moving on, we have the Jets going against the Bears. Could be a low-scoring game, but I don't trust this. I think the Bears will demolish the Jets this week. Chiefs going against the Broncos. If it's a windy, like a really windy game, if the winds pick up, boost the Chiefs defense a little bit. Still, I have them ranked number 7 here, so they're not like that good. I'm just saying, boost them if it's very windy or extreme weather conditions, something like that. Number 8, I have the Chargers D. Joey Bosa may be returning in a couple weeks, and they're on bye, so keep that in mind. You likely don't want to add them, especially if you need the roster space, but I did want to add them here, and they are heavily owned, so they're probably not available, but one of the main reasons I want to add them here is wait for the waivers to go through. So at midnight, whenever waivers go through for you, hop on your computer. Maybe the Chargers D's drop. Maybe you want to put in a claim for them. Or maybe wait till Friday or Saturday and add them off free agency. Maybe, probably not worth to waste a claim or waste any FAB money on them. But I would just consider them. When Joey Bosa comes back against some good matchups, that's a beastly defense. And I know a lot of you guys will be asking, what about the Texans D? What about the Bears D? Of course, they're awesome, but they are owned in 92% of leagues, and I don't really put players or defenses that are owned in over 90% of leagues on this list. But yes, both are good. Start them. Texans playing the Dolphins Thursday night football. That's a sweet matchup. And the Bears going against the Jets. That's an extremely sweet matchup. Look, if you can stop Crowell, I think you're going to have a great day as a fantasy defense and get that W in real life. Kickers. A few good kickers. I say the top 3 or 4 on this list are very good, and then we get a little bit deeper league territory. Dan Bailey going against the Saints. I absolutely love this. Dan Bailey, one of the most accurate kickers of all time. Then we have Fairbairn going against the Dolphins. I like this. May not be a high-scoring game, but still, he'll get some field goal attempts and some extra point attempts, so it's not bad right there. It has a decent floor. And ceiling, I can't really predict that. It's tough. Matt Prater, though, excellent floor. I think he's good every single week. And this week, basically the same thing. He's a kicker I trust. He's an accurate kicker and a decent matchup. So it's like you could do much worse. But don't you hate when the kicker puts up like 0 points or something? Like, I just feel like that's so highly unlikely with a guy like Matt Prater. Mason Crosby is really good against the Rams. Now, Greg Zuerlein would definitely be the kicker to own. He's pretty much the best kicker in fantasy, but he's not going to be available likely in your league. So I like Greg Zuerlein way more in this game, and they're at home. But Mason Crosby still, this should be a shootout. There'll be field goal attempts, extra point attempts. And remember, after Mason Crosby had that horrible game, I did recommend him the very next week, and he absolutely crushed it. So Crosby is back. Then we have Dustin Hopkins going against the Giants. The Giants allow a ton of points to fantasy kickers. Cody Parkey, Robbie Gould, Brandon McManus, And Adam Vinatieri is really on this list because I want to talk about his injury. I did recommend him last week. Don't know if it was the injury that caused him that. My guess is yes, it was, that he didn't perform that well. So he does have a groin injury. He may play, he may not. The Colts may sign a kicker tomorrow. I don't know what the case is. I just wanted to mention that and keep tabs on that if you're in a super deep league. Make sure you guys do go to profootballfocus.com and use promo code MVP20 to save 20%. Also, check out the merch we have. We have cool shirts like this one, Fantasy Football Commish. Just go to fantasycouch.com/store and check out the cool shirts and sweatshirts we have up there and other merch. Make sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel. We just hit 23K, and thank you guys so much. Also, we have a Facebook group. It's called Fantasy Couch Fam. So just go to Facebook and search Fantasy Couch Fam and you will find that group. We're about to hit 1,000 members on there. Best fantasy football community, hands down. Make sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel, Fantasy Couch. So click this right here. And then our second channel, we do have 2 channels. So make sure you're subscribed to Fantasy Couch Podcast as well. Like this video if you liked it. Dislike if you're losing in fantasy football and you hate my guts. And I'll see you on the next video /live stream.